Well, here we are, about 12 minutes left in free practice, and we are about to get started with round 2 of GoFAST Racing Season 4 here at Silverstone. Thank you for the follow, Delvius. I say it's supposed to be Devious, but it looks like Delvius. Here at Silverstone, time's well into the 2 minutes. 158.6, currently the fastest time, and we do have optimum track, so this is kind of the lap times that we're going to be seeing in qualifying. But we'll see if all of our drivers show their hands. Peach actually goes slightly faster, 158.419. Do we have any newcomers tonight? Don't think I necessarily see anyone new, but quite a few returning from the previous round. Over 40 drivers on track yet again. We are actually just listening to the 711 Porsche Rogue scream down the hangar straight. 3 followers away from 450 if you are not following the Twitch channel. And quite a long way from 450 on the YouTube channel, but I would also appreciate it if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would help me a lot over on that side. But quickly just trying to get through this free practice session. A last bit of practice for our drivers as Peach and the Mustang currently top of the timing boards. 158.419 here in free practice. The Mustang's looking to be strong here at Silverstone. Quite a bit of straights to be used, a lot of top speed sections where the Mustang is definitely a very, very strong car. Number 34, McLaren chasing down the currently leading Peach, that is the McLaren of Dingham. Bit of a different color scheme than I am used to for Dingham's McLaren. But a few changes in color scheme this year between many drivers, new teams, new faces, a lot of new drivers, new names to learn, a lot of new cars to continue to recognize here in my second season with GoFAST Racing. Looking to bring you a good one tonight. Our last running of Silverstone here in Season 3 was ran during the nighttime. I believe we are going to be running during the daytime this time, and no weather to really throw a wrench into things. Out of Cops. Actually, it's not out of Cops, I'm just not paying attention. Into Village. The tight chicane, sort of hairpin, weird part of the track before we come down the Wellington Straight. And then looking for the hard braking late apex of Brooklands before the long right-hander of Laffield. Try to get on the power as early as possible, hang it out as wide as possible without overstepping the track limits, and then all the way riding the inside curve and across the line. Peach not going to improve. They're going to bow out of that lap. Aramich, the top competitor, not in a Ford Mustang, in the Aston Martin Vantage GT3. Mustang seeming to be very strong here. 4 of the top 5 currently in Mustangs: Peach, Ormiston, Salinas, and Giant. All very strong drivers, regardless of the car, but all in a very strong car for this specific track. That was the Audi. I want to say that was an Audi. It may not have been an Audi. The 416 of Slapshot, that was a McLaren. Looked like an Audi there for a split second, but we don't have any Audis on track tonight. Into Village and the loop for Aramich. Then the left kink of Aintree for careening down the Wellington Straight all the way on the right-hand side of the track, looking for the braking zone for Brooklands. And then a very late apex, very awkward corner, a bit of a slip coming out, and we'll actually go on board with Aramich here for a lap coming out of left field. Then Woodcut before we run across the old start-finish line for the right-hander of Cobbs. Just running 2 tires on the inside apex, 2 tires on the outside curbing. And then down through Maggots and Beckett's, trying to balance the car onto and over the limit of the curb. There's quite a bit of curb to be used. And then at the exit of Chapel, using that curbing on the left-hand side as a bit more track to use, carry more speed before we run down the hanger straight all the way to the left-hand side of the track. Get on the brakes for the late apex of Stowe. Kind of find it in the middle and run it out as straight as possible. Very careful not to overstep the track limit before we come into the hard braking chicane of Vale. Big old sausage curve on the inside. Don't want to touch that. Less curve on the inside, but you do have a bit of grass, and then big old sausage curve at Club Corner. Now, one of the trickiest sections on the track here, the fast right-hander of Abbey. A lot of curb to be used. Really want to get 2 tires on the inside of that black and white curbing, and then into Village. Late apex, looking for the sausage curve on the inside. Just wanting to brush against it. Same here with the inside of the loop. Now on the power, as far outside as possible, cutting it across the curve at the entry to Aintree. Now, as we were on board with Aramich earlier, looking for the brake board there, braking just before, then a late apex, trying to trail brake out and across, use as much of that green painted tarmac as possible. Very slippery though, you don't want to get on the power too much when you're on it. Have a bit of wheel work to do coming out of left field before we go ahead and enter into the pit lane. That's going to be a little too quick into the pit lane. 3 minutes before this free practice session does end, but we are going to be very shortly a bit of an intermission. Restart the servers, try to get a couple of our drivers who are having issues joining into the server, and then we will be good to continue racing from then on. And a bit of an announcement to the drivers: do not take out the pit board. It is not going to end well for you if you take that pit board out. Giant that actually went up on top, 158.262. Begin here in about a minute 30. We're going to step out of the server for just a moment, get it reset, and then get the full grid into the server for racing tonight. Currently 41 drivers registered. We are looking to have a busy night here at Silverstone. Regardless, going to be good racing. Always is very good racing here at Silverstone, especially with GoFAST racing. Such a high skill threshold. Big slide from Giant coming into left field. Ultimately getting it under control though, but still fighting against the power, fighting against the traction, trying to get as much power down as possible. Hanging to the outside across the line. It was not going to be an improvement, but still a good lap. And then going out wide at Cops, and that is going to be in validation. And who is that in the Mercedes? It's Platypus with a change of scenery into the Mercedes here. As that's going to be out wide, and that's going to be a great big old slide to bring it into the session. Thought he was going to take out Marvy there in the Aston Martin, but ultimately let him be. So we'll ride on board with Marvy for just a second in the AMR liveried Aston Martin Vantage GT3. That's going to be an invalidation, I believe. Too wide on the outside of Stowe. Very good looking car with a very good looking color scheme. Iconic Aston Martin, British Racing green with the lime green. Reminds you very much of the Aston Martin DBR9, but we are about to have a server reset here momentarily, so we will wait for that server reset and then hop back into the server when we are next able to do so. So bear with us for just a moment. It will just be a minute or so once the server gets reset. So give us just a moment. We will get right back into it. Now we are back into the server. It will just be a short moment before we get back started with qualifying. We'll see a few take the advantage. It's actually going to be Ormiston, first one out, to get started with this short practice session. Good evening. I need you guys to... Well, maybe I could do something right now. We'll see. see, that does not upload. See if this uploads. That did not. But GoFAST Racing guys, if you can send me some small-sized PNGs that I can upload for emotes, I would greatly appreciate it. The number 71. It's not going to matter because we are actually about to get started with qualifying. This is going to be a split qualifying, I believe. Yes, it is going to be a 20-minute split qualifying. And we'll go on board with our AM drivers as they leave the pit lane. The number 99 Aston Martin of Schwartz going to be our first one out. As we get started with AM qualifying, our pros will be out in 9 minutes 20 seconds time as soon as that timer hits 10 minutes. Watch Schwartz go around Stowe. This lap doesn't need to be valid, but just needs to get the car as warmed up as possible. All the way out front by himself. Really going to want to take control, take advantage of this open track with no traffic around. Will at least be the first driver to set the pace for the field. Up through Abbey, hard braking zone into Village. And then trying to get it set up for the loop. Carrying some good speed, but missing the apex. It's not going to necessarily help the lap time. But this lap does not matter for the time being, as it is just trying to set a time for the qualifying. Going for the late apex into Brooklands, now setting up for the tight apex of Brooklands. Going a touch wide. We'll watch him as he comes across the line. This should start the first flying lap of the AM qualifying. Not too many opportunities. 2-minute lap here. Should be right around 2 minutes, as our pros will be under that 2-minute time. And Schwartz has had a bit of a companion join in his qualifying run, the 555. Ferrari 296 hopping out of the pit lane right behind. We will watch. I believe this lap should still be valid. I don't think that it was invalidated before Maggots. Coming into Vale, running very, very wide at Stowe. Hard braking down into Vale. Trying to get on the power as early as possible and accelerate through Club. Taking out one of the cones on the outside is very, very wide through Club. Now the run into Abbey. This is a very, very difficult corner, trying to carry as much speed as possible while staying within the track limits and kind of going a bit safe there with the track limits. Could have gone a lot further to the left-hand side of the track there. Now going to try and keep it nice and tidy through the infield section. out of Aintree down the Wellington Straight. Trying to get it set up nicely for Brooklands. It's a bit awkward, but ultimately keeps it held together. Way off the apex around left field. That's going to be some time lost. We'll see what it ends up being. As long as it's valid, as Schwartz comes across the line, should be the time to beat for the AM field. It's going to be a 159.555. We'll see if anybody behind is able to challenge that and take that pole position away. James Earl Jones currently 6.5 tenths of a second off. So we do have a few more. Sierra coming in half a second off in the Lexus. Michael D 1.8 seconds off, and it's going to be Nate in the Mustang, a 59.517. Barely beating out the time by the number 99 of Schwartz. But it is faster for the time being. Still about 5 minutes, 10 seconds left in this AM qualifying session. Still quite a few AM drivers yet to set a valid lap. Iceman goes P11. Leclerc in the Ferrari goes a 59.380. That's going to be the time to beat in AM now. Leclerc looking to find his first pole position in AM this season. Through Beckett's exiting through Chapel. Thank you, Pac-Man, for the follow. 2 followers away from 450. Hope we can do it tonight. That would be absolutely awesome. And thank you to all of you who tune in week in and week out, and those of you who watch the streams post-race. A bit of a wiggle through Stowe from Leclerc, managing to hold on to it. Don't know if that's going to be any time lost there. Schwartz coming around for another lap, coming out of left field, looking for an improvement. See if there is one. Hanging it nice and wide to the outside. It's not going to be much of an improvement. Nate in P2, the next two come across, looking to find some improvement there. The 424 James Earl Jones P6, Manelli just went by P7. Majority of our AM field has set a valid lap time. Mac Marbles, and I believe a first time appearance. A big slide through Comps, but currently P4 in AM. And I believe their GoFAST Racing debut, if somebody could correct me there if I am wrong. I believe it is a debut there. All of our AM drivers have set a lap. Dr. Devious in the Ferrari 296, currently 2.3 seconds off of the pole position time in AM, but still plenty of time to improve. Leclerc looking to find some insurance. We'll have this lap and one more opportunity, as long as he chooses to stay out, chucking the car through Maggots and Beckett's, as you usually do, but kind of a jarring run through there. We'll go on board with Schwartz coming down the Wellington Straight, looking to find some improvement, and this may be his penultimate lap. So Mac Marvel's making a return to GoFAST Racing. Very glad to have them back. Much tighter through left field this time for Schwartz. We'll see if it's going to be an improvement. It's at least an improvement through Sector 3. And across the line, it needs 1.175. Gets it, 59.332 from Schwartz. The 555 of Manelli goes P4. The 424 of James Earl Jones goes P3. The 999 of Sierra goes P5. Next across the line, the number 12 of Nightwalker, as this is going to start the final lap of AM qualifying. 1.7 seconds off the pace, looking for an improvement. Does not find one there. A few more drivers coming across the line. The number 90 of Michael D, P13, the 427 of Nate, P4. Sierra into the pit lane will not improve. Scroll into the pit lane will not improve. We'll take a look at our pro field as they have started queuing up at the end of the pit lane. Everyone ready to get going. Leclerc, the AM, with one more lap to try and improve, will be the only amateur driver. That's not going to be an improvement, going invalid at Cops. Actually, the 30 of Peachy will have one more lap to try to improve, and will not take it, will invalidate at Cops. Next will be Schwartz, as our pros are about to get rolling out of the pit lane. They are all queued up at the end, waiting to get started with their qualifying, which will start in 15 seconds time when they are allowed to get out of the pit lane. Through Brooklyn, Schwartz needing 3 1/4 tenths of a second, as 0 our pros are released. The gates are open. And now they are allowed to roam free. It was an improvement, but not enough of an improvement from Schwartz. Manelli into the pit lane will not improve. Who is next? Nate not going to improve. The 12 of Nightwalker in the Ferrari with some damage, but looking to find an improvement. Also has the 90 of Michael D behind. I think both of these drivers with some damage. Yes, they do. Nightwalker goes P8, and Michael D does not improve. Profit in the 69 coming out of Woodcut goes P14. The 333 of Cabe coming out of the final corner, holding very narrow, looking for an improvement, goes P7. And the number 94 should be one of our last stragglers in AM, Iceman into the pit lane. Well, we will see who is leading the pro field. It does seem to be Goose Slayer in the BMW, with Ouroboros in the McLaren right behind. Ouroboros very, very quick. Goose Slayer looking to set the pace for the pro field, but Ouroboros right behind in the McLaren, pushing and looking to find a way past. We'll see if the traffic jam starts behind. A lot of weaving down the Wellington Straight, trying to get some last little bits of tire pressure and tire temperature into those tires. The traffic jam has started at Luffield, down back to about Aramich, where they are. So that is the number 1 of Ormiston, where they are about to have the traffic jam, where everybody tries to get their own space. 59.007. The time to beat for the pros to take that pole position away from Leclerc. And we did see times from our pros into the 58s, but Leclerc in a good position to be well into the pro field and have some defense from his fellow AM drivers behind. Could be able to lock in a win for Ferrari in AM. Big slide from Goose Slayer out of Stowe, and that is not going to help Goose with lap time. Will be the first lap to be set valid for the pro field. Out of the loop through Aintree. We'll see what Goose is able to bring as we are nearly halfway through with our pro qualifying. 6 minutes through, but that is right. It is right about a 2-minute lap. Very wide through Brooklands for Goose. We'll see where this lap will put him. He's got Ouroboros and the McLaren closing up very quickly behind. Across the line, it's good enough for P12 overall. Ouroboros 58.747. Prieto right behind. Then Aramich with a 58.302. Ormiston goes P4 currently. Your mom in the McLaren goes P5 or P1, knocking Ouroboros down to P5. Ormiston down to P6. Tricks at P11. Guzman P8. Pack Daddy P15. Mad Sidecaster P10. We are well into the thick of it now, as we'll see who is going to be the first one to drop down into the 57s. Thank you for the subscription, Brad. You are helping me out a lot. Everybody who subscribes to the Twitch channel helps me out a lot, big time. And if you use the Twitch Prime subscription like Brad did there, it is free to you, but free money for me if you have Amazon Prime. So I'd greatly appreciate it if you used that Twitch Prime subscription. Will be a little bit before we get our next wave of pro drivers to set their laps. Goose Slayer actually slotted down into P28, and Ouroboros still trying to get past. I think Ouroboros may be able to get past here, nearly pushing Goose Slayer down the Wellington Straight. Ouroboros going very, very wide to try and open up a gap to Goose Slayer and go for a better lap this time and try and maybe find a way past Goose on this lap. We'll see if we get any improvements. Goose up to P14. Aramich 57.812 now the time to beat. Prieto went P2 there. Goose goes off at Beckett's. Come on, P3, Peach P4, Tricks at P5, Iceberg P6. It's a very intense qualifying, but we'll have to see how they stand the closer we get to the end of this qualifying session. As GoFAST Racing is known for its shootouts at the very end. Aramich currently the only driver into the sub-58s with a 57.812. 2.6 tenths the margin between Aramich and P2 of Prieto. Through Abby, Aramich chasing the number 210 Mustang of Prieto up ahead. These two having what could be the same exact battle that we see during the race, but we'll have to see what it looks like for them during race time. With the time left in the lap, it's going to be very close to see if these drivers can get another lap in after this one, but it looks to be that this next lap will be the last. If not, it's going to come very, very close. And Ouroboros up ahead. This will be the final lap of qualifying. So Ouroboros goes fast enough for P3. Aramich a 157.767. Prieto just ahead, hops into P2, or secures P2 for the time being, hopping down into the sub-58s. Still more time to try to improve. Ouroboros will do no better than P3. Mad Sidecaster jumps up to P13. The number 55. of Zoanam goes P34. The 221 of Giant, good enough for P11. The number 4 of Langley, good enough for P21. Watch the 10 coming across the line. That is Ketu in the NSX. Ketu, no improvement there. 416 of Slapshot, good enough for P3. Knocks Ouroboros down 1 position. And the 34 of Dingham into the pit lane will not improve from P29. Well, it's between Prieto and Aramich for pole position right now, and Aramich in the slipstream of Prieto, and I don't think that Prieto is going to be too happy about that one. The 86 of Trixit, the teammate of Aramich, running right behind. Across the line for Prieto. We'll see what it's going to be. If it is an improvement, is it good enough for pole position? Needs 135 thousandths, is good enough for pole for the time being. And Aramich into the pit lane will not improve. Trixit, good enough for P4. The 334 of Peach across the line, good enough for P3, knocking Slapshot and Trixit down a position. The number 11 of Salinas across the line, looking for an improvement, does not find it. P13 and no better. The number 80 of Pop in the Lexus across the line. We'll see what it will be. Also has the 7 of Marvy in tow. Good enough for P22. Marvy goes P16. The 221 of Giant out of the final corner and across the line. What will it be for Giant? P12 now, good enough for P8. The number 4 of Langley, good enough for P21. Ketu in the NSX, the sole NSX out there. All alone, no Honda brethren. P11 currently, and will stay P11. And that will bring an end to our qualifying. It's Prieto on pole. Let's take a look at our AM field. Leclerc P1 in AM, as now it will at least let me do things a little bit better. Leclerc P1 in AM, Schwartz P2, James Earl Jones P3, Nate P4, Sierra P5, Manelli P6, Cabe P7, Mac Marbles P8, Nightwalker P9, Peachy P10, Scroll P11, Michael D P12, Chandler P13, Profit P14, Tychopath P15, and I believe that is a new entry for GoFAST Racing right there, so welcome in Tychopath. Iceman 94, P16, Bradzilla P17, Rogue P18. Overall, Prieto on pole with Aramich P2, Peach P3. That lap time being a 157.712. Aramich P2, Peach P3, Slapshot P4, Trixit P5, Ouroboros P6, Yermon P7, Giant P8, Ormiston P9, Brute P10, Ketu P11, Iceberg P12, Salinas P13, Mad Psycaster P14, Platypus P15, Marvy P16, Guzman P17, Pack Daddy P18, Ricky Bobby P19, Leclerc P20, Langley P21, Pop P22, Schwartz P23, James Earl Jones P24, Nate P25, Gooseslayer P26, Sierra P27, Manelli P28, Dingham P29, Cabe P30, Mac Marbles P31, Nightwalker P32, Peachy P33, Zoanon P34, Scroll P35, Michael D P36, Chandler P37, Profit P38, Tychopath P39, Iceman P40, Bradzilla P41, Rogue P42, and Dr. Devious bringing up the rear in P43. 43 drivers on the grid tonight, and we are lined up about ready to get rolling with the formation lap here for round 2 of the GoFAST Racing Season 4 here at Silverstone. If you are not following on Twitch, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would hit that follow button. 2 followers away from 450 and inching ever so much closer to 500. And if you would like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, greatly appreciate that. Trying to get the numbers up on YouTube closer to the ones on Twitch. And as a reminder, all races are streamed on both Twitch and YouTube. YouTube is where the permanent broadcast will be saved. If you would like to watch any race that has been broadcast in the future, you can find it on the YouTube channel. And if you would like to support the streams, please subscribe to the Twitch channel or use the Amazon Prime subscription. If you have one, Twitch Prime is free with Amazon Prime. And with that, we are engines fired and about to get rolling. If you are new to GoFAST Racing or new to the streams, you can join my personal Discord with that link in Twitch chat. Or if you'd like to get involved with GoFAST Racing, you can join their Discord with the link in Twitch chat as well. And we are now engines fired. Prieto will lead us off the line as we get started with this formation lap. Going to see a lot of braking, a lot of weaving, trying to generate track and tire temperature, trying to generate brake temperature, more malleable tires, more malleable brakes. Helps with grip and also helps with slowing down. You don't want cold tires and cold brakes at the start of the race. Go and get on the throttle when the flag goes green and you spin, and you would get absolutely swallowed up by the field behind if you do not get very good launch. Very crucial for these two who are going to be leading the field to make sure that they get a good start. Very easy to get swallowed up through Copps, Maggots, and Beckett's. It's going to be absolute chaos by the time we get to the hangar straight, as Maggots and Beckett's, not the easiest section of track to negotiate 2x2, and I can guarantee you we'll be 3 wide through there on this first lap. Things should calm down pretty shortly after, as everyone will still be trying to find position, but should be at least solidified into a good spot by the time we get through Stowe. Quite the field going back. 43 cars tonight. As we get this shot going down the hangar straight on board with Ricky Bobby in the very bright colored Aston Martin Vantage GT3. All eyes on Prieto in the Mustang. Very, very strong here. And contrary to what we saw in the prior free practice session, it's actually 3 McLarens up there in the top 6. Aramich very high up in the Aston Martin. The next Aston Martin down in P15. Ketu, highest up NSX, actually ended up going P10. Actually, I believe we may have had someone who is starting from the pit lane. Chandler and Iceman both starting from the pit lane. Leclerc very high up the order. P19, the AM pole sitter, and has a full row of pro drivers right behind, separating himself and Schwartz. And Leclerc just looking for a good run, hopefully able to put a few more pros between himself and his AM competitor of Schwartz. As between Pop and Langley, or besides Pop and Langley, the only 2 pros separating our top 2 in AM. Leclerc going to want to put a bit more of a cushion in there for the pro lead. 2x2 we come out of Luffield as we are about to get started here, eagerly awaiting the green flag as we come through Woodcott. Prieto leading Aramich. There's 2 Mustangs on the inside. We'll see if Peach and Prieto push Aramich off to the side, or if Aramich is going to be able to hold it around the outside of Copps. We will wait for the green flag, which will come any moment now. And green, 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 we are racing. Prieto immediately looking to go defensive into Copse. Gets it blocked off, going back through the midfield. Our leaders should be 2 by 2. Everyone will try to make it through safely through Maggots and Beckett's behind. So far, it seems it is not all sunshine and rainbows behind. We've got a massive incident, multiple cars off. Michael D involved in that. I believe that is Trixit involved in that as well. As all of those drivers trying to get rejoined onto the circuit. Dingham involved, Peachy involved. Both teammates there, I believe. Prieto leading Aramich. It was going to get tight through Maggots and Beckett's. And while that is not the start that we wanted to see, surely one that had a high likelihood of occurring. We've had another off at Abbey, but taking the escape road, rejoining the circuit. It's going to be Prieto leading. There's quite a dense field of cars behind. So we'll actually hop into that dense field of cars behind. 2 by 2 coming into Brooklands. And it is Leclerc versus James Earl Jones in the Mustang. James Earl Jones actually slotting in just ahead, as Leclerc will concede the AM lead for the time being. Slayer trying to find a way around the outside, but going to pinch Leclerc up the inside, and now James Earl Jones will take the AM lead. Aramich trying to chase down Prieto, but Aramich under attack from the McLaren of Slapshot, who also has a 334 Mustang of Peach in tow. As they come into Stowe. Slapshot still trying to get the better run, trying to set up a move on Aramich into Vale. Peach in the Mustang behind, having to kind of take evasive action and not go into the rear of Slapshot. Ormiston and Brute in a battle here. Brute high up the order in the Porsche P6. Very good run there so far. And we have had an off behind as Ketu in the NSX involved, and who else is involved? That's the number 2 of Iceberg with big damage on the front of that Mustang. That's going to likely be an entry into the pit lane. Ormiston using the bumper on Ouroboros. You'd think that was the fight for the lead, as those two went at it back and forth all season, last season, in Season 3. Ouroboros not happy about that, wanting to find a way past Giant. It's not going to come very easy. Giant actually with a wiggle through Brooklands. And we've got a battle here. Giant, Ouroboros, Mad Psycaster, Pack Daddy, and Salinas, all 5 here. It's a lot of Mustangs involved in this fight with one imposter of a McLaren. It's actually 6 Mustangs if you count Ormiston at the front of this fight. Giant trying to catch him. And Ouroboros just trying to stay within the slipstream. Ouroboros getting a great run out of Chapel, much better run than the Mustang of Giant. 2 Mustangs behind fighting. That's Pack Daddy and Salinas, 2 wide into Stowe. And Salinas looking like he will have it closed off by the time they get into Vale, but Pack Daddy not going to give it up that easy. go up the inside and force Salinas to just hang behind for the time being. Up at the front of the field, your mom and Slapshot, the two teammates, trying to reel in the Aston Martin of Aramich. Do have the lap car, the number 90 of Michael D, who was involved in that lap 1 incident. A few drivers involved in that early collision with early pit stops out of the way are going to be on the long game from here to the end, as we are only almost 6 minutes into this 45-minute race. There are pit stops required. Those drivers who were involved in early incidents and have taken to the pit lane to either repair or put new tires on, or just try and go for the long strategy and recover some spots in the pit lane, take advantage of the chaos. And the number 2 coming out of the pit lane, that is Iceberg in the Mustang. Salinas and Pack Daddy still with this fight. Salinas unable to find a way past Pop in the Lexus, cruising up behind this battle. Just behind, Ricky Bobby with the AM leading James Earl Jones, giving chase. Leclerc in the Ferrari, way down the order. See if there's any damage on the front of that Ferrari. I don't believe there is. Could have just been a very bad stroke of luck or gone wide. Peach in the Mustang with the fastest lap in tow of the McLaren of your mom in P4. Peach, at least pace-wise, looking to be on a roll to move forward and take that position away. Salinas still chasing down Pack Daddy, and Pop trying to get in the midst of that fight as well. As they come out of the infield. Salinas in the evenly matched Mustang of Pack Daddy. Slipstream going to give a little bit of help, but ultimately not too much. And it really is a Mustang fight. As Ormiston and Giant also fighting behind. Giant, I think, having a little bit of a wiggle and dropping behind Ormiston. Langley chasing down the now AM leader of James Earl Jones. Quite a few battles to try and stay on board with, as our leader Creto has broken 2.5 seconds free of Aramich. Got a little bit of help from the slipstream of the Mercedes of Michael D. Out of sync with the strategy, as he was involved in that early incident at Maggots and Beckett's. It is now going to have to try and recover as many positions as possible, but is going to be a lap down. Aramich with the 2 McLarens still chasing. Aramich very quick in the Aston Martin. Regardless of the car that he is in, he is hard to catch. Currently holding P2, trying to fend off the 2 McLaren teammates behind. Brute in the Porsche, currently in P6, in the all-white Porsche 992 GT3R. I think he needs a sponsor, so if anything, the running so far should at least be good cause for any potential sponsors looking for a driver. We've got a battle here is what has happened there. Gooseslayer involved in that is going to be Guzman. Trying to go up the inside of both of them. 3 wide running into Kops. Ultimately, Guzman gets it done, 2 for 1. Down the old pit straight. Has Goose in the BMW, trying to force an opening, but it's not going to happen. Guzman taking P17 away. Ormiston has found a way past Porsche of Brute, but Brute doesn't want to give it up that easily. He has a nose through Vale, and they're side by side all the way through Vale. The Porsche will take the spot back into Club Corner. Ormiston goes wide, and there's company here. That is the 221 of Giant. This is a 3-way fight as they come through Abbey. The Porsche trying to hold on. The Mustangs, obviously a quicker car in a straight line, but the Porsche posing to be a hard car to overtake. And now Ormiston under attack from Giant, forced to go 2 wide as to come out of the loop and through Aintree. It is now Ormiston on the back foot. As well, these 2 Mustangs will be catching up to the Porsche, at least for the time being. Brute got a little bit of time to relax. The number 94 of Iceman with a 30-second stop-and-go penalty off the track at Abbey, but is rejoining. This was close fight at the front, and I don't think Aramich quite got the run through Kops that he wanted. Slapshot seems to have gained a lot of time there through Maggots and Beckett, still just running kind of in the dirty airspace. It's just close enough where dirty air starts to affect handling, but also right there within slipstream range, but kind of bouncing back and forth in between. Slapshot well into the slipstream now, though. Getting right up onto the rear bumper of the Aston Martin, but Aramich gets a better run out of the corner. Michael D off the track as these 3 still in this fight. Brute still trying to hold off the opposition behind, and there is more firepower hopping into that fight. One singular Porsche trying to hold off 2 Mustangs, and now the McLaren of Ouroboros. All 3 of those drivers behind. Very, very quick. Brute showing to be quick as well in the Porsche, but just not as strong of a car compared to the Mustangs and the McLarens. But as long as they stay fighting behind, Brute could be able to open up a gap behind and start to pull away. Looking behind from on board the Porsche. Ormiston immediately behind. Giant in the purple, gold, and white Mustang, and Ouroboros right in that fight as well. Ormiston trying to get on the power too early, and the Porsche with its superior acceleration pulls away down the old pit straight. Those 3 behind now starting to develop into a fight of their own, and Mad Psycaster also trying to join the teammate in that fight. There is a gap to the cars behind, as it's about 3 seconds between Ouroboros and Mad Psycaster, but Mad Psycaster trying to get up there and help fight with Giant. Brute and the Porsche trying to break the toe of the Mustang behind. Back on with this fight for P2. Aramich still trying to hold off the 2 teammate McLarens. Slapshot immediately behind. Your Mom trying to fend off the 334 Mustang of Peach. And also going to become a factor here soon as we are approaching the halfway point of this race, the pit lane. Not a very long pit lane here at Silverstone, but we have seen a lot of positions made and lost in the pit lane. Prieto out in front, just with a dominant showing. 3.9 seconds ahead of the trailing P2 Aston Martin of Aramich. We're still trying to hold off the Mustangs behind. Those two Mustangs have broken free from the McLaren of Ouroboros. As we see that fight for P2 go through just ahead. Is Slapshot now going to be in slipstream range, maybe overtaking range of the Aston Martin? Has a look to the inside, tries to get Aramich to go defensive. Aramich knows that that is just a bluff and calls the bluff, stays on the racing line. Slapshot now once again getting a good run. Is it going to be a lunge into Vale? No, it's not, but right on the bumper applying the pressure, as now the two McLaren teammates right behind. As they are starting to bunch up on the Aston Martin. This is where some pit strategy would be very, very crucial in turning this fight one way or the other. Aramich could try and catch these two McLaren teammates off guard or pull them into the pit lane with himself. So Brute, the P6 Porsche. Mustangs behind. That gap has opened up a bit though. Is Your Mom going to be under attack from Peach into Brooklands? Surely looking to be so, but Peach not going to quite get it done. Almost going into the back of Your Mom. Getting a great run out, but just nowhere to go. And no pit lane entries from our leaders yet. Brute comes into the pit lane P6. This is going to be our furthest up scheduled pit stop. We'll see if anyone follows behind. Langley with James Earl Jones behind Michael D, the Mercedes, forming a wedge in between those two. Nate in the Mustang, currently P2 in AM. Zoenom in the Porsche comes into the pit lane, tricks it from P26, an unfortunate run as he was involved in that early incident. Leclerc comes into the pit lane as well. Your AM pole sitter also involved in some unfortunate luck. I was looking for the 21, as we've got quite the gaggle of cars behind. This is a four-way fight in the AM field, at least three-way. Nightwalker with, who is that behind? That's Mac Marbles. And side by side, Mac Marbles takes the shunt, goes wide at Stowe. Not going to be happy about that one. Tycho Path in the McLaren is going to be happy about that one. Slots in behind and takes the position. See if Mac Marbles in the Porsche able to reclaim positions lost. On board with our leader coming out of left field. Is it going to be a pit lane entry from Prieto? No, it is not. Is it going to be into the pit lane from Aramich? No. None from Slapshot, none from Your Mom, none from Peach. Right on board with Peach in the slipstream of Your Mom into Cops. Mom gets caught out. Is this going to be a move for the overtake for P4? splitting the teammates. Not quite close enough for side-by-side through Maggots and Beckett's. Do we have more entries into the pit lane? No, I do not believe so, not at the time being. Platypus comes in, Nightwalker comes in just behind. Tychopath just behind the McLaren of Dingham. Nate into the pit lane as well has already been stopped. Salinas and Pack Daddy still in this fight, but Salinas now ahead of Pack Daddy. Was the other way around when we last checked in on this fight. Still awaiting the large influx of drivers into the pit lane. Silverstone, track that does wear tires a bit more, and a big wide run out of club from Salinas. A lot of close running up at the top of the field, but not much being done for overtakes this far up. Peach gets one there. We'll see if it's going to be undone by immediately going into the pit lane. Prieto still staying out. Your Mom, no cut into the pit lane. Slapshot goes in though. We'll see if the teammate comes in. Yes, the team calling both of the cars in. And hopefully no speeding into the pit lane. Giant also going to come in. That does leave Ormiston and Ouroboros to fight amongst each other. That is going to be perfect for Giant. As the more that these two fight, that's the slower their laps are going to be. Salinas also comes in, and that is going to be crucial in that fight with Pack Daddy. We'll see how that affects it. Pop in the Lexus also comes into the pit lane. Marvy in the Aston Martin into the pit lane. Mac Marbles in the Porsche coming in. A late entry though. Not going to be speeding though. Does get it slowed down. Chandler in the Mustang also comes into the pit lane behind. And Brute is going to be our furthest up ahead. As Slapshot just coming out of the pit lane. We'll see how much this has helped Brute. It's out of the pit lane, just coming out of Cops. Will slot in just beside Your Mom. Remember, Your Mom came into the pit lane from P4. And Pop in the Lexus getting an unfortunate 30-second stop-and-go penalty for Brute. Coming through Maggots there, I believe that was going to be a track cut. Brute with fresher tires, or I guess warm tires. Your Mom does have the fresher tires by a lap or 2 laps potentially. Prieto, the leader, comes in. Aramich follows, followed by Peach. Ormiston also going to come in. Ouroboros will stay out. Ouroboros will be scored the leader of this race. See what Ouroboros is cooking. Staying out. We'll see if he stays out 1 lap or 2 laps. Maybe he wants to run free with some pace. Ouroboros, a very, very quick driver. Pack Daddy now comes into the pit lane. Ricky Bobby in the Aston Martin stays out. Langley into the pit lane with Guzman and the Porsche right behind. Sierra staying out, not coming in. Dingham comes into the pit lane. Tychopath staying out, and Rogue in the Porsche staying out. So Slapshot furthest ahead on strategy coming out of the pit lane. Prieto now well ahead, already out of the pit lane. And that's quite the large lead there. see where Aramich came out a ways behind. We'll have to see at the Sector 2 timing line. The number 80 of Pop still with that 30-second stop and go penalty to serve. And Pack Daddy, the number 31 Mustang, currently P12, gets a 30-second stop and go penalty. Dingham comes into the pit lane, or Dingham, I guess, still in the pit lane, likely with some damage to repair. Aramich in P2 with the McLaren of Slapshot right behind. Peach is actually going to find himself technically in P4 with Brute in P5 behind. Your Mom down to P6, at least going off of those drivers who are scored out of the pit lane. Now into the pit lane, Ouroboros gets his stopped on the jacks. Crucial for Ouroboros here is where our leaders are. Ouroboros not going to be able to hold on to the lead unless this is an absolutely crazy stop. It would have to be no tires. But coming out of left field, still on the jacks is Ouroboros, also your AM leader of James Earl Jones in the pit lane. Sierra coming down the pit lane. Ouroboros yet to come off the jacks. Your leader, Prieto, will go past, and Prieto will be back scored as leader. Ouroboros off the jacks. Aramich comes through Cops. Aramich will go ahead. Slapshot will go ahead. Brute will go ahead. Your Mom and Peach now in a fight behind. We'll see where Ouroboros comes out of the pit lane. It's going to be behind the 221 of Giant. So not really going to be too much improvement in the pit lane there. Aramich 4.5 seconds off of the leader. Brute has not been able to hold on to these positions easily. Now has Peach and Your Mom trying to get past behind. That would be very unfortunate, Pop. Your Mom and Peach, as the McLaren having to go defensive against the Mustang. We'll see once those stragglers yet to come into the pit lane. Ricky Bobby into the pit lane. And a Tychopath will be the next to come into the pit lane. Prieto will be officially scored the leader once again. That fight between Your Mom and Peach behind. As Tychopath comes in, they're going to be side by side. And I've seen two cars through Cops before. It didn't end well last time. Big mistake where car number 15, Ricky Bobby, with a drive-through penalty as he comes out of the pit lane. That's going to be very unfortunate there. Staying out and actually came into a pretty good track position. Prieto, the leader, now all on his own in no man's land. Aramich with Slapshot still a nuisance behind. And Brute and the Porsche able to breathe a little bit as now Your Mom and Peach are in their fight. Ormiston closing in behind as well. Mad Psycaster and Salinas, as there has been a lot of friendly fire between the Mustangs. And Marvy Pro Platypus in a fight with Trixit and the McLaren behind. This is a three-way fight, trying to go too wide through Stowe. Platypus trying to hold on to this position. Did we just lose Trixit? I believe we may have. Trixit has been sent to the Shadow Realm and will not return for the time being, as it is very hard to come back from the Shadow Realm. James Earl Jones trying to find a way past Goose Slayer. The fight between the Mustangs of Cave and Chandler down the Hamilton Straight. Your Mom now on the back foot as the Mustangs of Peach and Ormiston have joined in that fight. Brute in the Porsche able to live a little bit longer and also has McLaren of Slapshot in sight. And just coming by at the last moment there, Mustang of Giant and the McLaren of Ouroboros. Mad Psycaster also not too far behind. Mad Psycaster and Salinas in a battle coming out of Stowe. Hop back on between this fight with Your Mom and Peach into Abby. As Your Mom would love to be able to take the racing line and hunt down the Porsche of Group, but it's not going to be very easy with these two Mustangs haunting behind. While there hasn't been too much overtaking action in this race, it has been clean and close racing the entire time. Mad Psycaster and Salinas in this fight. A lot of close running. Brute, a big mover, gaining a lot of positions both in the pit lane and on track. I believe we may have had a couple disconnections there. As Trixit was one of those disconnections. So very unfortunate there. Yeah, something did happen. Your Mom now well under pressure from Peach and the Mustang behind. It's nearly going to come to too wide through Stowe. Peach trying to set up the undercut. The old cut back, the old switcheroo at Stowe. It's not going to happen. Side by side into Vale. We'll just slot behind single file. But now Your Mom with two great big old Mustangs behind. And Your Mom now forced to go defensive. And Ormiston trying to grab a bit of that slipstream, as this is getting very much elbows out behind. These three getting very dense with each other. Ormiston going for the long run, trying to carry as much speed as possible. Peach had to check up a bit, and now it's going to be 2 by 2. With the two behind Ormiston, he wants the move into Brooklands. He's going to get alongside, and Peach will let Ormiston have it. Ormiston now wants to chase down the McLaren of Your Mom. And the battle back here in AM. This is for P3 and AM. Leclerc coming back from losing those positions with that lap 1 incident. Sierra and Leclerc, as Leclerc up the inside through Aintree, may have it done. He's got to hold off the Lexus with a superior top speed. Now we'll go defensive down the Wellington Straight. Sierra not close enough to go for it. We'll hop on with Langley and Guzman. Guzman in the Porsche. That was closer, but I believe Langley may have just gone past there. Now Ormiston slot in ahead of Peach. We are one follower away from 450. It's Jake Wells making it 449. The number 711 of Rogue off and on the trailer. A retirement from Rogue there. Brute now well under attack. I think this may have been a mistake, allowing Your Mom to close in that much behind. Now Your Mom in the McLaren well on the front foot against the Porsche. Brute seeing the threat, going very, very defensive down the Wellington Straight, trying to break the toe. While the Porsche, very, very fun car to drive. It's not going to be easy to defend as Ormiston makes a big mistake into left field. Somehow manages to hold on to it. Brute now with big pressure coming from the McLaren behind. Likely not going to go for the move into Copse. May well be a sitting duck through Maggots and Beckett's. Needs to hope that Your Mom loses some time through here, as the Porsche with the slipstream behind is not going to be able to fare too well against that McLaren. Brute all the way defensive into Stowe, now moves over at the very last moment to try and block the move off. Is successful for the time being. It's going to get a lot harder, and there's going to be more people that want to play in this fight. Ormiston and Peach both not far behind. Car number 99 of Schwartz from P4 and AM getting a drive-through penalty for track limits. Slap shot well in that dirty air, having some trouble getting the front end to bite through Abby. Car number 14 off at left field. That is the Lamborghini of Bradzilla. Ultimately rejoins the circuit. Doesn't seem to have lost too much time there. This fight getting pretty crucial. This fight for P10 also getting a bit intense with Salinas and Ketu behind. This battle for P2 in AM between Leclerc and Sierra. Hopping back on the fight with the Porsche Brute. This is the fight for P4. Not going to want to go out of the track limits too much. The last thing that Brute would want to do here in this position. He's done a great job of putting himself into P4 from his qualifying position, and has had a lot of good luck in both the pit lane and on the track. Now has a lot of defending to do to keep the McLaren and the Mustang at bay behind, but you can see the time being lost. Ouroboros 1.1 seconds back. This Brute behind getting very, very bunched up together. They're going to start to get more and more desperate. A bit of a bump through Vale from Slapshot. Now it's getting antsy. Slapshot under attack from the Mustang of Ormiston. They'll try to go too wide through Abbey. And this is going to be perfect for Brute. He needs these drivers behind to fight. The more that they fight, the easier it's going to be for him to hold on to the position It will grow the gap between himself and these drivers behind, but it's getting busy. Your Mom with Ormiston and Peach within a second behind. Also just behind them, Ouroboros not too far behind. Ormiston, a very, very quick, very aggressive driver in that Mustang. Reto and Aramich have pretty much secured P1 and P2. Slapshot in a good position for P3. This is not going to be a fight for a spot on the podium as Ormiston makes a big mistake coming out of left field. Holds on to it, but that's not going to be too good for him, at least in trying to move forward against Your Mom. Now going to fall backwards slightly into the clutches of Peach. Still nowhere for that fight to go. It's still Brute in the Porsche trying to hold off the 4 behind. Your Mom once again getting much, much closer. And with this Porsche, it's got to be a great run. It has to be a perfect exit of every corner. Cannot risk any amount of oversteer one way or another into Stowe. Very defensive. And it's going to be, I believe, 2 more laps. Brute would hope for 1 more lap, but I don't know if it's going to be leaders on the final lap at the end of this one. It's going to be close, though. And Your Mom all over the rear of the Porsche. They all go wide. It's 5 cars all within a second now. As it's Your Mom immediately behind Ormiston, Peach, and Ouroboros. As Your Mom goes for it into Village, Brute will be able to get the cutback. Is he going to be able to go around the outside at the loop? No, he is not. Can he try and stay within the slipstream and get it done down the Wellington Straight? It's not going to be easy, but he can try to do it. Your Mom trying to break the toe, and like blood in the water, hungry sharks behind the Mustangs of Ormiston and Peach and the McLaren of Ouroboros. Brute is not going to give this position away easily. He's right there on the bumper of the McLaren of Your Mom. It's not going to be the final lap of the race. We do have 1 more after this one. But that might be the little feather that broke the camel's back there for Brute. As with these long defenses, as soon as that first defense is broken, it's going to be very hard to hold on to the rest. We'll see if the Porsche able to hold on to the McLaren. Not going to be likely, but it is not impossible. Needs to be a perfect run. The Porsche does have great acceleration out of the corner. There are 3 hungry Mustangs with much higher top speed behind. Brute now having to pull off of the racing line to go defensive against Ormiston, and now this is going to be what will hand the position as Brute makes a big mistake. That is Porsche over rotation, and it's Peach and Ouroboros involved at the exit of Stowe. They keep it rolling. Ouroboros gets it fired up, but will have to reverse it. And Peach also trying to get it fired off. They may lose positions there. Mad Psycaster and Salinas going to be gaining a couple positions. Brute, who is now behind both Your Mom and Ormiston, as that is going to be the fight for P4. Brute will try and hold on to the positions he has. Giant in the Mustang 3 seconds behind. But up ahead, and nothing really exciting for Prieto, which is going to be the way that he likes to have it done. Starting the final lap of this race with a large lead to Aramich in P2. 8.1 seconds for Aramich, but Slapshot is right here behind. May be within slipstream range shortly, and Slapshot going outside of the track limits, as we have had a few issues with disconnections tonight on the server. Sorry for anyone who has been disconnected from the race, but the final lap of this race, the fight for P2 is on. Your mom also under attack from Ormiston. But we'll see. Is Aramich going to be able to hold on to P2 here? Final lap of this race. The clock has come down to 0. Is Slapshot going to be able to get close enough? Coming out of club, he needs a perfect run. Gap stabilized, not really shrinking. A bit of understeer through Abbey into Village. Aramich has some traffic up ahead. Is this going to be the catalyst that will help Slapshot get here in contention for this spot? Prieto up ahead. Aramich in P2. I don't think Slap is going to be close enough to take the position away. It would have to be a lunge from years back. Prieto coming out of Woodcott, and I think that is going to be good enough for Prieto. Prieto takes victory in round number 2. GoFAST Racing Season 4. Aramich will take P2, Slapshot will take P3, your mom will take P4, with Ormiston and Brute right behind. Brute coming across in P6. Giant will bring home P7. Mad Psycaster and Salinas here in the fight for P8. And this one may come down to the line. It's a drag race out of the final corner, but I believe that Mad Psycaster may have it done. And his teammates finishing one behind the other, P7 and P8. Salinas will bring home P9. Ouroboros brings home P10. Peach P11. Langley will bring home P12. Guzman will bring home P13. Ketu P14. Platypus P15. Marvy P16. James Earl Jones will be able to bring home P17 overall and the AM win. I believe his first AM win this season. Sierra will bring home P2 and AM. P18 overall. Zoanon will bring home P19 overall. Manelli will bring home P20 overall and P3 in AM. Goose P20, Dingham P21, Tychopath will bring home P22. And we have had actually quite a few disconnections in this race. Tychopath P21, Chandler P22, Schwartz P23, Nightwalker P24, Mac Marbles P25, Cabe P26, Peachy P27, and Iceberg will bring home P28. To bring an end to tonight's racing, all about Prieto, as he has actually left the server. I don't think I'll be able to read the official results, but Prieto in P1 with Aramich P2 and Slapshot P3 in AM. James Earl Jones P1, Sierra P2, and Manelli in P3. Thank you all for tuning in. We are going to go ahead and raid someone as usual. Thank you for tuning in. If it is your first time, I would appreciate it if you would be able to follow on the Twitch channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you would be so kind as to throw me a subscription on Twitch, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps the streams a lot. It's also the best way to personally support me. Stick around as we will be finding someone to raid. There are not many people on Assetto Corsa tonight, but we'll go ahead and raid Scuderia Fantazzi. thank you all for tuning in, and we will go check out Scuderia Fantozzi. Have a good night, everybody, and I will see you next week.